Hey there, welcome. Have you ever really stopped to think about, well, thinking itself? For the longest time, we've had this image of the mind as something kind of mysterious, this ghost in the machine locked up inside our skulls. But you know what? That entire picture is starting to change, and fast. So today we're going to dive into three massive ideas from cognitive science that are totally rewriting how we understand our own minds.
So let's just jump right in with a wild one. What if your mind isn't just confined to your brain? Seriously, what if it actually extends out into your body, into the room you're in, and even into the smartphone you're probably holding right now? That's one of the core questions we're going to get into.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about the computational revolution, how computers went from just being a metaphor for the mind to a tool we use to build it. Then, we'll look at this incredible idea of the brain as a prediction machine. And finally, we'll explore that mind-bending concept of cognition existing beyond the brain, before we wrap it all up with your key takeaways.
So, first up, the computational revolution. For decades, we've said the brain is like a computer. But what's happening now is a huge shift. The metaphor is literally becoming the model. We're now using actual, powerful computational systems to test our deepest theories about the mind.
So when we say computational models, what are we really talking about? Well, we're talking about the complex AI and artificial neural networks you hear about all the time. These aren't just simple analogies anymore. Nope, these are sophisticated working systems that scientists are using to build and test ideas about how our brains actually work. It's a massive leap forward.
And I mean, the power of these models is just staggering. You see it every day, right? An AI can write a surprisingly good email, it can spot a face in a huge crowd, or it can create a breathtaking piece of art from just a few words. These are things we always thought were uniquely human, and now they're happening inside a machine. And you know, when a machine can create art or write something that feels poetic, it really forces us to ask some fundamental questions. What even is intelligence? What does it truly mean to understand something? Could a machine ever be conscious? These aren't just for late-night philosophy sessions anymore. They're becoming urgent, practical questions we need to answer.
Okay, so if computers are getting so good at modeling the mind, what does that tell us about our own brains? Well, that brings us to our second big idea. The brain isn't a passive receiver, it's a predictor. This idea basically flips our whole understanding of perception on its head. The old view was that our brain just sits there waiting for information, but it turns out it's way more proactive than that.
It's a framework called predictive processing. And the core idea is this. Your brain doesn't just wait for information to come in from your eyes and ears. Instead, it's constantly making its best guess, a prediction, about what's out there in the world. It's basically running a constant simulation of reality and then using the real world to check its work.
So it works in this simple but really powerful loop. Step 1, your brain makes a prediction. I think I'm about to hear a bird. Step 2, it gets the actual sensory data. You hear a sound. Step 3, it compares the two. Was it a bird or was it a car horn? If there's a mismatch, what scientists call a prediction error, the brain really pays attention. And finally, step 4, it updates its internal model so that its next prediction is just a little bit better. That's it. That's the basic loop of how we learn and perceive everything.
And you can actually feel this process happening. Just think about any visual illusion you've ever seen. You know those ones with two lines that look like they're different lengths but they're actually the same? Or a static image that seems to be moving?
That's not a glitch in your eyes, that's your predictive brain in action. What's happening is that your brain's prediction, based on a lifetime of experience with things like perspective and shadows, is so strong that it literally overrides the raw data your eyes are sending it. You see what your brain expects to see, not necessarily what's actually there. Pretty cool, right? Okay, so we've got a brain that's a powerful prediction machine, constantly building models of the world. But where does the thinking actually take place? And that brings us to our third and maybe the most mind-bending idea of all, the concept that your mind exists beyond your brain. This is what's known as the 4E cognition framework. It argues that our thinking is 1, embodied. It's shaped by the fact that we have bodies that move and feel. 2, it's embedded in our environment. 3, it's extended into the tools we use, like our phones or a notebook. And 4, it's inactive, meaning it emerges from our constant interaction with the world.
So the really crucial point here is that thinking isn't this one single thing happening in a single place. It's a distributed process. Your brain, your body, and your environment are all working together as one big, integrated cognitive system. This just completely shatters that traditional brain in a vat idea of the mind.
And here's the perfect everyday example. You set a reminder on your phone for a doctor's appointment. Well, according to 4E theory, that phone isn't just some external tool you're using. No, the whole cognitive process of remembering has been offloaded to that device. In that moment, the phone becomes a real, functional part of your memory system. It is literally an extension of your mind.
All right, we have covered a lot of ground. We've seen how the computational revolution, predictive processing, and the 4E framework are completely changing the game. So let's take a second and pull it all together into the essential takeaways.
So here's what you really need to remember. First, AI and computational models have gone from being a simple metaphor to being real tools for science. Second, your brain isn't passively seeing the world, it's actively predicting it and learning from every single surprise. Third, your mind isn't locked in your skull, it's distributed across your brain, your body, and the world around you. And finally, when you put all this together, it really forces us to redefine what it even means to be intelligent, to perceive reality, and maybe even what it means to be a self.
And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. If your phone can literally be part of your memory and an AI can come up with a new idea, that line between us and our technology gets really, really blurry, doesn't it? It's the central question these new theories are pushing us to confront. Where exactly do you end, and where does everything else begin? Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. I hope it's given you a whole new way to think about, well, thinking.